Hello, I'm Toni Safner. I work at the Faculty of Agriculture at the University of Zagreb. I'm a member of the core team of University of Zagreb members of the ResBios, together with Professor Nikica Šprem and our PhD student Andrea Rezic. My work is mostly in statistics, in population genetics. We work mostly with wildlife, and working closely with hunters group, nature protections group, and things like that. We are based in Zagreb, in a beautiful environment near the park, on the outskirts of Zagreb. We have labs here, and our faculty also has a lot of external places like stations for growing crops. We have our own hunting ground where we do a lot of our practical work with students. We have orchards and things like that. So within the ResBios project, our group was one of the beginners within the project. And we focused most of our activities on sort of promoting or bringing to a higher level responsible research and innovation in our faculty, with specific focus to open access and to ethics in research and in teaching. Our main activities were related to lifelong learning with different kind of extracurricular programs for beginners and for the experts related to the wildlife management, to the conflicts between wildlife and humans, and the interested public were hunters, wildlife managers, lawyers, doctors, agriculturalists, farmers, and things like that, people like those. Second focus was on the wildlife group for the students, also one kind of extracurricular activity, but for the students. In terms of ethics, we put most focus in a practical thing, in implementation of the anti-plagiarism software, and raising awareness of the good practices in research and in scientific publishing. Regarding open access, since it was already known issue in our faculty, we focused on our work on very specific thing that was discovered as one of the problems why we did not publish more, and that was to try and find some financing for open access publishing, and we were able to do it in the collaboration with the faculty's main figures. Well, regarding the success of the ResBios project in Zagreb, I would say that probably the biggest overall success was somehow diverting our attention or making some sort of an accent on something that we were basically already doing, but we didn't attribute as ethics or responsible research. That's some kind of a general impression. Second very important thing was very good collaboration with faculty administration and with other researchers. That was also, I wouldn't say it was generated by ResBios, but I would say that it was very important as a byproduct of our interaction with those people. And when we speak about specific things, as I mentioned when I described our activities and our focus, one of our probably biggest successes was arranging with the faculty officials to finance or to sponsor, let's say, open access publishing of researchers, more specifically of the first paper for each PhD student that he publishes in open access journals. So I would say that's somehow the easiest achievement to quantify, because it's money, so it's easy to quantify. Other things are more in the sphere of general progress and on this sort of vague definition, but this is something that's maybe the easiest to quantify. Regarding the greatest challenge, I would say that the greatest challenge, at least for us, for the core team, and then it transferred to all of our contacts, was to somehow enter into the field that we are not familiar with. Most of us are agriculturalists or biologists, and for us, the concept of ethics or the concept of open access and all those, I will call them big words, were the terminology that we are not familiar with. We did not know exactly what it meant. It took us as the core team a lot of time to even understand what we are trying to do. And then, of course, it took us some time and effort to try to transfer it to the other sites that we were contact with. But the lesson learned from that is something that just crystallized in this form very late in the project. Was that basically in the time when we are living, it's pretty difficult to do bioscience that would not already be in some form or way already ethical, because all the laws, all the good practices that we were teaching our students and that we were implementing in our research already had this component of responsible research, but it was not attributed as such. So that's maybe the reason why I didn't specify that as a big achievement, because basically it didn't change a lot. It was already here. We just gave the name to it. So how I would say maybe to overcome it is maybe I think what we were missing from the beginning, at least in our core team, and I would say maybe in a complete core team here, were people from social sciences, because they would probably know the terminology and they would know the stuff. But the problem is that we are not social sciences faculties, so we could not have them. So somehow that's maybe one thing to consider for maybe future projects like that. Being part of the ResBios for sure benefited our organization, as I mentioned before, in terms of understanding what is labeled as responsible research, and maybe to even be more brave or more considerate or more strong when discussing with foreign partners, when applying for projects and stuff like that, to say, yes, we are really doing that, and now we know that we are doing it. It's not just that we are doing it, but we know that we are doing it. Second great thing that I think came out from ResBios for sure is a very good feeling of helpfulness with all ResBios partners, and also within our organization. As I mentioned a couple of times, we had really good contacts with administration of the faculty. There were some ideas that arose from them. One example is we were not implemented in the gender issue part of the ResBios, but after our people responsible here at the faculty for such issues, they included us, members of the core team, with the future, let's say, or planned gender issue activities. So I think that it somehow opened a gate to something that we were not really dealing with. I have to be honest, we probably won't have time and energy to deal with it further, but at least we are now aware that it exists, and we know who to contact at least. So thanks to everybody for listening. Thanks for being the part of this project. And probably we'll see each other in Brussels very soon in December for the final meeting. Thank you and goodbye.